Welcome to Archispeak, a podcast about all things architecture. My name is Neil Pan. Join me and my co-hosts, Evan Troxel and Cormac Phelan, every other week as we explore what it is like to work in the profession of architecture. Have you ever worked with an architect? Have you ever wanted to be an architect? Maybe you're in school and you don't know what you're getting yourself into. Or perhaps you know exactly what it is like as you've been working in the profession for a long time, and you know that the more things change, the more they stay the same. Or maybe, just maybe, you're planning on changing the world. Join us as we have a casual conversation about all things architecture. It's time for some Archispeak. Welcome to episode 89 of the Archispeak podcast. I'm Neil Pan.
I'm Evan Troxel.
And I'm Cormac Phelan.
This is a special episode recorded on May 19th from the AIA Convention in Philadelphia and sponsored by ARCAT. ARCAT is an online resource for all of your building product needs. Visit them at the AIA Convention in booth 3401 or online at arcat.com. So we're coming to you again from our mobile studio in downtown Philadelphia on the first full day of the AIA Convention. We started the day by attending the keynote featuring Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She was subbing for Kevin Spacey, actually, who was the announced keynote speaker. But so, guys, what did you think of her interview? Actually?
They traded one actor president for another actor president.
Yeah, they did, actually.
I think the current AIA president, Russ Davidson, had a funny statement when he basically said the same thing, and he when that happened, when whatever transpired, when Kevin Spacey was no longer going to be the keynote speaker, he said that he wanted to pull a Frank Underwood and shove someone in front of a moving subway car.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, he gave some good one-liners. I think I don't know, whatever happened, he seemed to be somewhat perturbed, but also kind of took it in stride, and it was like, made a good joke about it.
He just said, "We moved on."
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. I don't know that it was really pertinent to anybody in the room except for maybe Radsner, who's designing her house. But other than
which
that,
they probably weren't in the room.
Yeah, who probably was not there. But overall, I didn't get an overwhelming inspirational feeling from it. I did feel like Russ Davidson and Robert Ivy were both doing a very good job about getting the crowd going, and I really feel like watching Ivy over the last 2 years, he's really become a good speaker in front of a large audience, and I felt like Russ Davidson did a really nice job as well.
Yeah, actually, and that they were reading off their cue cards and stuff like that. But they were engaging. I really liked it. I enjoyed the speech. It didn't feel like a speech. It felt like a conversation. So, I mean, it was good. And I was doing a few live tweets and kind of quoting some of Russ's comments and stuff, and they were inspiring. And so, yeah, Robert Ivy. I remember the very first time I had ever listened to him give a presentation. It was at Auburn, and he said something that it always shocked me until it was like, wait, this is all we do. And he was giving a stat about. And I don't really remember the percentage, but it was like maybe 9 or 19% of all of the buildings designed in the country were designed by architects. And it's always stuck with me that basically what he was getting at is we need to do a better job of telling the world that why we're important and why they need to hire our services and stuff like that, and that if we want to kind of regain control of the built environment, we are the ones who are going to need to do it.
I kind of felt like the new format, the theater in the round, layout.
That was interesting.
I loved it. Actually. It was much better than the singular directional facing speaker to the audience. Yeah. I felt like when Russ was up there, he kept spinning in circles. Right. And so I think that it takes some getting used to from a speaker's perspective, but because then the camera is always trying to catch him from the front. So there's when you see the screens on the sides,
quick cuts.
There's a lot of quick cuts because they're always switching cameras to catch the front face. And so
camera 2, camera
to
1.
me, and this is something that I witnessed at Autodesk University last fall was they have the same setup when they're in Vegas, and the speakers there really, they spend a few minutes speaking to each direction instead of constantly turning. And I feel like if this really is a new format, like you said, and they're going to continue to do this in order to make everybody in the audience feel like they're closer to the speaker, more engaged, which I think is the really successful part about it.
Yeah.
Then I would just say, practice speaking on that stage or mock it up or something so that you actually get to not make everybody feel dizzy. Because that's how I felt watching the camera always clip, clip, clip for while he's spinning around. I felt like I was actually feeling dizzy in the audience watching that. And I felt like I need to keep my eyes on him and not the screen. Because I kept looking at the screen, just like any restaurant you go to where there's a TV. It's like your eyes automatically go to the screen, which I hate. But I felt like, okay, he's right there. I am closer to him. I should be watching him. And it's hard because it's not stepped amphitheater-like seating, right? So it's all flat floor. So there's definitely line of sight issues when you're sitting right behind somebody.
Oh, yeah. And even sitting up tall, I still couldn't see over the guys' heads.
Yeah.
I couldn't see them. So
I couldn't see either.
You really want a seat at the end of the row.
Yeah. So back to the keynote presentation with Terry Gross, which was awesome because I love listening to fresh air and these long format conversations. When she was interviewing Julia Louis-Dreyfus, it was great because we got to hear some insights from Elaine and from President Meyer and all of these other things. Love all of the shows that she's in. I think she's a great comedian, but I mean, we're all sitting there looking at each other like, okay, this is great. We got a celebrity. How is this inspiring us as architects? Or, I mean, she didn't even have a nice little anecdote about her house construction other than it's really expensive,
Yeah.
And so it's just like, and I just listened to a podcast, WTF with Mark Maron, who had another in-depth conversation with her, and it almost seems like her everything is a very boilerplate, kind of response. I mean, all of the responses that she gave in that
it's personal, but you're saying repeated.
Yeah. It's repeated, and not to take anything away from her because she's probably tired of having to say the same, because they are asking her the same questions and they're the same answers.
Well, and my guess too is this was thrown together at the last minute.
Yeah.
She obviously is not the kind of person, I don't think, who just gives inspirational speeches.
Right.
And so they teamed them up together so that the pressure was off. The pressure was more on the person who asks questions for a living, to come up with good questions, to come up with things that she thinks that the audience wants to hear. But I really didn't feel like it played to the audience that they had. They didn't take advantage of that.
Right.
And I do feel like I was hopeful that if Kevin Spacey was speaking, it would have been an inspirational speech, and I would have gotten excited and to hear about innovation and disruption, which is kind of how they hung the premise of what he was going to speak on. I was looking forward to that, and that wasn't it at all. So I felt like it was kind of a swing and a miss here at this.
I do remember all of the tweets that after they announced that Kevin Spacey had dropped out and then they replaced him, that it was like, why didn't they get George Costanza, because he's always pretending to be an architect anyway. And I think that it was like Art Vandelay. I mean, that would have actually been great to just at least interview him on why he always wanted to pretend to be an architect, because I think that actually would really kind of help.
It felt very thrown together, and is successful as the new format with the center stage and the talking and walking around and being closer and everything worked well for that format, but for the interview was horrible because they just brought out a couple of chairs and they turned their back to three-quarter, at least half the audience.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was.
Well, the good thing was that you couldn't see them because you were scared.
Sitting.
So you
were forced to watch the screen.
You were forced to watch the screen.
Right.
Which then I thought, again, just to belabor this, obviously, is that now I feel like I'm watching an interview on TV. And I don't feel like there's any value to it actually happening there.
No.
I almost felt like just, closing my eyes and listening to it like I would be in the car when I'm driving, listening to fresh air.
Right.
And just, let me just pretend that I'm, don't see them and I'm just going to listen to them.
Right.
There were some funny stories. There were some some really funny language. The whole thing about the croissant. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So,
So if you guys don't watch Veep, you really should, because it's kind of it is a funny show.
Well, that was I don't watch Veep, so all that stuff they were talking about with Veep,
same with me,
right over my head, and I was like, oh, cool. Now you're talking about Seinfeld. Okay, that one I know.
Yeah,
But it was funny to hear it, but the impact of what she was talking about
was a little lost
on me personally, and I was really hoping to hear Kevin Spacey, because I do watch House of Cards. And I've been a fan of his since he was on Wise Guy back in the late 80s. So,
you're dating yourself there.
Thank you. It's you, right?
Old?
So you're old.
I mean, we had a very packed day, because my feet are telling me that we did a lot of walking around and a lot of looking around at the expo floor. And Neil, you were kissing babies and shaking hands and stuff again this year.
And this year we were recording it, so we'll have more to share with you, with all of our listeners in the near future. All of the different vendors we spoke with today.
So, what stood out today as some of the highlights of the day?
I had a really great time talking with NCARB and with Autodesk. Spoke with Vectorworks and Graphisoft as well, and just walking around and talking to those people about what they're doing and really kind of why they're here was another question I was able to ask a few of them, and getting their take on why they attend these shows. They're not cheap to attend. And I think some of the feedback I got on that was really interesting.
Was there any kind of bombshell, oh wow, that's going to be some great news in the future?
There was some things that were said kind of off the record I can't talk about, but I had questions that I shared with them prior to to hitting the record button, and I did have some of them tell me, I'm not going to talk about that, or I'm not going to answer that. But things they didn't want to talk about, I attempted. There were some questions that some listeners sent in, and that I was going to broach. And in one case, it was the person or people that could address those questions were not available. So it's you can't ask a business focused question when the product manager is there and they don't really control that sort of conversation from the company. So. Some of that occurred as well. So
gotcha.
But it was really fascinating to sit down and kind of play the media role, and it was very crazy busy because I kept going around to different vendors and talking to them and recording and going through the whole process of setting up the mic and doing all that. That was kind of new for us this year, so it was a lot of fun. I look forward to sharing some of the information we gleaned from all the different interviews. So we'll be sharing that in the future.
The AIA did launch their new website. It actually went out to a bunch of people ahead of time, so that they have been testing it. So if you go to pilot.aia.org, you can experience the brand new website that the AIA has been working really hard on. And basically going to all of their constituents and saying, what do you want the website to do? And it was interesting in the pre-show roll, again, they had some graphics up there about some of the polls that they had run and what people wanted most out of the new website. So it sounds like they really are trying to listen to all of their constituents and find out exactly what people actually want in the AIA website. So it sounds like they've kind of reorganized a lot of stuff. It's obviously mobile friendly, which is a huge improvement. And it's been designed by Pentagram out of New York, which is their design partner. So it's got to be good. I haven't really gone through it all to check it out yet, but I'm hoping it's a lot more modern and more useful for everybody out there. So check it out. Go to pilot.aia.org and check out the new site, and it should be available on any device.
And don't worry, I mean, we're architects and we'll be picking it apart because...
Really? That font? That color?
Exactly.
Oh, they also announced the new Architecture Firm of the Year award today that went to LMN Architects, and they're out of Seattle. And they had quite a cool portfolio of stuff. And so definitely be checking them out more here. And they had quite a few people from the firm here today to represent them as they were awarded that.
Yeah, did you notice? I mean, it had a great cross-section of I thought what was great is, so you had all of the principals up front, the ones that were doing all of the talking, and immediately behind them was one of the kids, I'll call him a kid because he's definitely younger than me, that was in the video and doing some of the talking. Mm-hmm. And he was immediately behind them, standing next to and joking with, got to be one of the oldest guys at the firm, clearly in his 60s or more. And they were joking together, and I was like, see, that's what we need, is we need old and young, the mid-range careers and everybody else coming together, because I could just see the dialogue of this guy imparting his wisdom to the young kid saying, okay, look, old guy, here's all of this wisdom that I have and stuff, and being able to mesh them together and stuff.
One of the cool things that I thought really stood out about LMN was their kind of commitment to the civic fabric.
Oh, yeah.
And you can tell that they're really involved in making their region important civically.
Yes.
And I felt like they've put a ton of work into creating amazing architecture that's very public, right? For the public to fully engage in. And some of those shots that they had inside the spaces, whether they're civic auditoriums or libraries or justice centers or whatever, it was just amazing looking work. So I'm definitely looking forward to checking them out more, and it did seem like they were, as far as their portfolio went, very deserving of this. They have a huge breadth of work.
Oh yeah,
huge projects.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, I'd love to do that. Oh, I'd love to do that. They were pretty exciting. So after the keynotes and all of the architectural rah-rah and stuff, which I thought was great this year. Honestly, last year kind of left me a little bit wanting and lacking in this inspirational from the architecture leadership. And this year I thought they did a great job. Robert Ivy and Russ, they really did, a good job of, I felt a little picked up. Then we kind of hit the expo floor and started to look at all of the different product vendors and people like that. So who was your highlights?
For me, it was Iris VR, who has a booth together with the Chaos Group, who are the creators of V-Ray, and also with Clever, which is a real-time online walkthrough software that you can basically have it all render and everything, your project right inside the web browser. It's an amazing tech. And then Frame was also there, which is a virtualization company.
More about them.
Who they had a little MacBook Air there running Revit, because it's all running in the cloud off this amazing workstation. That just to have that workstation on your desk, he was saying, would be $15,000 to $25,000, but you can rent it for $4 for a few hours.
Right. So, he was just you could do a whole day's worth of work for $15?
Yeah.
And I thought that was great. That's well worth the investment.
Right. So that was cool. But Iris really stood out to me. We talked with George Valdez over there, and we got a tour of, I got to put on the HTC Vive headset and hold the wands and actually be inside a space, full VR. I really, the graphical quality of it was not amazing, but to be in the space, it didn't take long at all for me to feel like I was there. And they have actually kind of written their own. There's a new thing out, which I linked to the other day, which is the new a new tech from Google where you can paint in 3D. So they've kind of got their own version integrated into their software now. And with these wands in your hand, you can point at the paintbrush, and then you can actually start painting in 3D. So it's tracking your motion of everywhere that you're going with your handheld device, and you can actually paint in 3D. And then he even talked about, not too far in the future, hopefully being able to get that painting, that stuff that you're doing, the markups or whatever they are, back into your model, so that it'll be a two-way thing. So not only do I get to experience the model and paint on it in 3D, and it's a really super easy drag and drop interface to get your SketchUp or Revit or OBJ models into there, then they'll be able to take this 3D markups and paintings that you do and throw them back into your model, which is sweet.
So watching you do it on the screen, you were in it real time, and we were watching you on the screen. All I could think of is, man, I don't want to do his red lines, because it was like you're splotching all over the place and stuff. But what was cool about it, though, and what I could see from as you were doing that and you were immersed into it, is the next evolution of not only just visualization, but now here as a project manager, being able to go into a 3D real-time view of what's going on in the model, and being able to do like visual clash detections, like, oh, I'm looking at this wall, now I've got the mechanical kind of integrated into it, and I see this mechanical is too low and it's hanging down below the ceiling, so I'm going to put a little red
so you bump your virtual head on a pipe.
Exactly. But I mean, it's cool that because a lot of times, even right now for project management and QA QCing and stuff like that, you're still doing it in 2D. You're still looking at what the documents that you put out are really doing. And this, to really kind of do, now it's getting closer to the whole Minority Report thing that I'm looking for, is being able to get in there and
getting a workout while you're in your project.
Exactly. It's no more sitting on your ass while you're doing this. You're out there, you're like up and you're moving around, you're spinning the damn, thing around, you're moving, you're like, oh crap, that's wrong. Oh, that's wrong. Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. Maybe we should expand this detail and stuff like that. And I thought, I can see that it's starting to kind of like tiptoe into the future of those things, and we're really going to get there. So it's going to be cool.
Well, I encourage everyone to go check it out. If you're at the convention, go over to booth 2711 and visit Iris VR. Yeah. And if you're not, go to their website and check out what they're up to, because they have a really cool VR solution. It's very easy to use. And like I said, it works natively with SketchUp, Revit, and OBJ models, which is basically everything. I mean, if you just drag and drop your model onto their thing, and it turns it into a model that's virtual reality. So there's no lengthy conversion process or anything. And honestly, once you take the goggles back off and you get back out, you expect to still be in it. Like you feel like you are in this thing when you're in there. And it's very sweet. As a design tool, this is where I'm really starting to see how this can apply to us with the work that they're doing right now. It is no longer the high-end presentation stuff, which is a whole separate track in the VR world, and we've got VR roller coasters now, and we've got all this stuff. This, as how it applies to architects, is huge, because it is a very usable design tool. And the way that they've made it so accessible by just this drag and drop interface to create the models, then all you have to do is make the one-time purchase for the hardware, and you can actually be using this at your desk, in your office, and you could put this onto a client's head and have them experience it as well. But as a design tool, we're all sophisticated enough to navigate around in 3D on our screens. It is no harder to be in the space, fully immersed, and playing with your architecture before it's ever built. So very cool.
It's the virtual Lego set that you can be able to spin around and look at. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. And what was also great about that, the setup that they had for Oculus Rift, I think, or the one that was like the really high resolution rendering?
That was just in a Samsung Gear. I mean, that was very high res.
God, that was beautiful too. I mean, you still knew that it was rendered, but you really kind of felt like you were in this, just space, and you could feel the space. That was what was cool about it. Is you could feel the vastness of it. Was a library, and it was just and it was rendered beautifully. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, that's just a Samsung Gear, and that's a $99 headset, which is anybody can have one of these. You just have to have a Samsung Galaxy S6 or an S7 phone. If you already have one of those phones, you spend the extra $99, and what it does is it has a couple of extra sensors that the phone doesn't have, and then they communicate together to really make you feel like you're inside the space. It's really cool. So again, check that out at the Iris VR booth tomorrow, or on their website if you are not at the show. Any other cool booths, cool tech, anything else that you saw?
I went to the Shilden booth, which, the reason why I wanted to seek them out and go to them is, one, to talk to them and thank them for helping me on my last project, because I had never worked in terracotta before, not to this extreme of a level where we basically almost used everything out of their product catalog in one way, shape, or form on this building, and just talk to them about what they've done to help me out, and then kind of just like, what's next coming down the road. And, they've got some great terracotta screening and stuff that they've got going on, that just these simple little, it's kind of like these like rectangular plates that are hung on a metal mesh, and then you basically can hang it over almost any type of substrate, either, and they were showing projects that they were dressing up parking garages and stuff, and these parking garages went from like your ho-hum parking garage to something that was really a nice piece of architecture just by this simple little terracotta screening that they were using. And just kind of see where some of terracotta, which most people, a lot of people do use it, but a lot of people don't understand how to use it in cladding systems and things like that, because they think it's more brittle and easy to break and things like that. But I'm going to be looking at the building products and stuff like that.
I think that's a good point. I mean, there are tons and tons of vendors showing off really cool materials. We spent time at a lot of them, and there's too many to list, but that was really cool to see kind of that brise-soleil system that they've come up with.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
I will say that, you will get us to come to your booth a lot more with mimosas.
A surprising number of booths are serving mimosas.
Exactly.
It's true. We visited Arcat. Right?
Yep.
Arcat was on the show floor under the big red glowing A, our wonderful sponsor.
Yep.
And it was cool to check in with Bill and all of the family over there. And they're up to some cool stuff. And so I want to encourage everybody to head over to the Arcat booth if you're at the show and check out their new software that they're giving away for free, which is, it's all cloud-based, but it's called Charrette. And we're actually going to be talking with them more about this tomorrow. But Charrette is a pretty promising-looking platform to throw design ideas together when you're starting out a project in conceptual and schematic design, and then have their behind-the-scenes database system turn all that into something very tangible and real for the project, which is going to be outline specs and then more realistic specs once you get further down the line.
You'll be able to pull in and link in, some things about like where you can find details and stuff like that. So I think there's some things. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but, doesn't it can integrate like every level of the team, from just the in-office project team members to all of your engineers, your clients, and everybody else. And, you can do these kind of like real-time, pulling together of
inspirational photos, sketches, and products. There's all kinds of inputs into the system.
And every time, we're meeting with a client, we put together all of these inspiration boards. They also want to see some of the material and stuff.
Or add to the inspiration board themselves.
Right. And they can populate with photos or a link or things like that. This is a real-time conversation that's going on that doesn't have to wait for the weekly, bi-weekly type of progress meetings and stuff. This is everybody's talking for the greater good of the project. So
think
I'm
of it
kind of excited about it.
Think of it kind of like Pinterest, and everybody has access to a Pinterest board, and then they can be throwing up all kinds of information
like
onto there.
Pinterest meets Slack meets, like a Skype type.
It seems like that.
I mean, it's like all of these collaborative tools kind of pulled together as one, with the engine of being able to like pull down technical data and
BIM models
and all that
details,
other stuff. So I think this is definitely a good way to go.
We'll get some more information tomorrow so that we can give a more realistic idea about what it is. But we're excited to see it. So that's something tomorrow that we're looking forward to.
So
let's talk about Neri. We haven't really mentioned her yet and who she is. But the keynote tomorrow is going to be Neri Oxman. And she's an MIT professor, and she is working at the Media Lab there. And I think that it's going to be a lot more appropriate for the audience that the AIA is serving to this week. What do you guys think about Neri? Are you excited to hear what she has to say?
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, with the... And it wasn't that it was a negative critique about, they did their best to pull together a keynote after a keynote dropped out relatively late in the game, almost close to game time. So, they did a great job. And I thought the format was fine, but it really didn't speak to us. But I think Neri and the next keynote speakers are really going to be speaking to what excites us about the profession, about design process and things like that. And I'm really kind of looking forward to her take on approach of integrated design and everything else. And
well, we know that MIT Media Lab is at the forefront of design and technology, and we also know that she is an architect and a designer. And so what I'm excited about as far as them choosing her is kind of a new, younger direction that they're going with this. And to me, that's really important for the future of the AIA, right? We've got tons and tons of membership. They said this year is the biggest membership year ever for the AIA. And we know that there's a lot of older membership that's going to be tapering off over the next years. And so how are they going to get more members? How is the AIA going to keep on going? And to me, this is one of those strategic initiatives that they have to be doing. They have to be injecting this new, exciting lifeblood, which is the future of architecture, this stuff that she's going to be talking about tomorrow, which is what I'm so excited about. I think that this is the exact kind of thing that the AIA needs to be doing for the future of these types of conventions and inspiring the groups of people who are really coming into the profession.
Absolutely. So anything else? Did you maybe sneak away from the convention hall and look at any really, really cool architecture?
I got. So we drove over to the Barnes Foundation.
Beautiful building.
Which is a Todd Williams, Billy Chen design, and it was amazing.
Yes.
It was amazing. So look for some photos on our Instagram. You might see a few of them on there. But man, again, I've described them before. That's capital A architecture.
Yeah. But there is a lot of really cool, both old historic architecture, new architecture. The thing that I always love about the East Coast cities and stuff is this beautiful integration, this kind of dance between modern and traditional architecture of these classic old like city streets with the alleys and everything else, and then you just got all these nice little peekaboos of modern and stuff, and it's a beautiful mix and blend. And Philadelphia is a good example, a great example of this beautiful blend of every era of architecture that's ever touched the American psyche.
And there is a lot of building going on here.
Yes.
There is a ton, which is great. Great to see. I mean, it's great to be in a city for this convention and see that going on. And again, just being reminded of why we do what we do and actually getting to experience these projects, get away from the show floor, get out, walk around, get some fresh air. The weather is absolutely perfect today. Get down underneath the buildings and eat out of the food trucks and just feel like you're part of it, for me at least, a very different feeling of surroundings and the city and the architecture, and it's just been just fantastic.
Yeah, and as much as I enjoyed Atlanta, last year's host city, Atlanta kind of typifies the southern, almost suburban, urban environment, where you sort of need a car to get around and to see some of the things because it's so spread out. The great thing about these colonial towns and stuff like that is everything's so condensed in that it being one of the top 5 walkable cities in the country, it really does. I mean, you could be anywhere and see anything in
about 20 minutes.
In about 20 minutes.
20-minute walk, you're everywhere. Yeah, very cool. Oh, one other thing that happened today was we were a sponsor for the Charette Venture Group business plan competition, and they announced the winners of that, and so we thought it would be cool to kind of announce that on here as well and give a plug to them because they've been a great partner with that kind of stuff. So they announced on the Facebook page, they had live video running a little bit ago, and they had 2 runners-up and then the grand prize winners. And the grand prize was almost $15,000 worth of stuff. There was a $10,000 check and then about $5,000 worth of software and things like that. So why
didn't we?
Yeah. It was no small feat either. They had to do several presentations and then they went through the jury deliberations, and I'm sure it was a tough choice. The runners-up were Love Shack Architecture and Clever Moderns. And the grand prize winners was ARC 406. And so congratulations to ARC 406.
Absolutely.
And to Charette Venture Group for once again, like pulling something together. I think you were saying this, Cormac. This is something that the AIA should definitely be paying attention to.
Yeah. I mean, this is encouraging entrepreneurship in architecture. This is innovation in business application. I mean, so this is something that as a whole, the AIA should be getting into, encouraging this kind of like creative thought in business modeling.
Yep.
And because this is, as you say, with Neri's keynote tomorrow, this is the future of architecture. This is the future of the profession, and we really should be encouraging any and everything that is a positive light for both the firm and the progression of the profession. The AIA should be getting backing them up and getting behind them and pushing them forward.
Yeah, kudos to Charette Venture Group for organizing and putting this together and building up all these sponsors and all this momentum and then just giving it away. I mean, this is amazing. They're doing this all on their own dime. They do some really cool stuff. So we'll have a link to the Charette Venture Group in the show notes, but they really are doing some cool stuff. They are investing in companies and they are not taking a chunk of that company. It's a really interesting business model that they have themselves, but all in the best interest of developing architecture practice of tomorrow, which I think is an amazing thing. So very cool for them. So definitely worth mentioning here at the end of the show.
All right, well, that's it from our second day here at the AIA Convention. Tune in tomorrow, and we'll have the final episode of our mobile studio here in Philadelphia. And thanks again, shout out to ARCAT for sponsoring this special episode of Archispeak. If you're here at the convention, remember to visit ARCAT in booth 3401. And thanks everyone for listening.
Bye.
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 You have to walk it, you can start now, or you can hang your head in despair. It's the only road will take you there. They may tell you that you'll never recover, baby. I've learned one thing or another about you. It's the only road to get you there. And if they don't know how to treat a lady, maybe you can teach them how to act. They could use a little bit of discipline and a hand on the backside, baby. Let's pretend we're doing the right thing. And while we're at it, have the opposite day. Some like to hug, some leave a bruise, some need to go. I'm ready for you. Want to get the hey on. I see too much. It escapes on, grates on the real world. It manufactures glory for the feeling its fractures. Photos and truth like a tractor, a cracked actor, a mother of pearl. And if they don't know how to hold a woman, maybe you can put them back in their place. They could use a little bit of discipline and a hand across their face.